Welcome everyone, I am Exotic Steel, and this is my Vintage Story Let's Play, the first episode. So we're gonna start out here with our character creation. My dude looks pretty cool, just randomized it up. I'm cool with that. I had to restart a couple tries to get a proper spawn area, because the last couple spawns were very poor in resources and such. So I reloaded and we're back in the game, and hopefully we will find what we need. If you're new to Vintage Story, it's a pretty hardcore survival game, similar to Minecraft in some aspects, especially visually, but very, very different in gameplay. To start out, you start in the Stone Age with flint tools, and you work your way up to the Copper Age and the Iron Age, which I have not gotten to yet. In my single-player playthroughs, the furthest I've made it to is the Copper Age. So we will just see how this goes. In Vintage Story, you use napping to make your first tool, so I'm going to go ahead and make a knife here, so that way I can harvest some grass and other stuff around here. Alright, we got a flint knife blade. We're going to need some sticks to put a handle on this. And the first thing I'd like to find is some cattails, so we can get some inventory space here. Because when you start out, you don't have any inventory space other than your hotbar, and you need to make baskets to add inventory space. And you can have up to 4 baskets to start out here. So let's see if we can't find some cattails and grab some other resources that we're gonna need in the meantime. We got a stick, so we can make our knife now. Let's see if we can get any more sticks from this. Just one, that's okay. We got ourselves a flint knife by putting a stick on the bottom and putting a flint on top of it, or knife blade on top of it, sorry, to make a flint knife. And we can use this to collect grass, which we'll need to make fires and torches later on. So we'll just grab a little bit of this right now. It's also used to get the roots on the cattails that we will need for inventory space. So hopefully this spawn will be a little bit more forgiving and give us some cattails nearby. This is very important for early game progression, to have some inventory space. Awesome. Okay, I see some cattails right over there, so that is going to be perfect. We also have some horsetail, which we can use to make bandages later on, which would be very nice. So let's gather some cattails so we can make some baskets. And I'm also going to be grabbing the roots, so that way I can cook it over a fire to make some good early game food. So let's skip ahead here and gather some of these cattails. Alright, so at this point we have gathered enough cattails to make a full set of baskets. So to make baskets, you can press H to open up your survival handbook, and if you hover over an item, it'll open up the window for that item. So let's go and press H on the hand basket. Oh, that didn't work. I think I have to click it. Let's try this again. Alright, so we're at the hand basket now. So to make hand baskets, you need 10 cattails in this orientation in the crafting grid. So let's go ahead and make ourselves 4 baskets. And now we have 12 inventory spots. So that'll be good for quite a while. That'll be about the maximum amount of inventory space that we'll have for quite a while. So let's finish gathering up these last couple cattails hanging out around here, and then we'll move on to the next part of the beginning of the game. And there is still a bunch more to gather. This game is pretty grindy. You'll spend a lot of time in the early game just gathering resources, or actually into all parts of the game. You'll be spending large amounts of time gathering resources, but it is all worth it in the end. Okay, so at this point we've gathered 2 stacks of cattails. So not 2 stacks, but close to it. And I think that is going to be enough for now. We'll leave the rest of those alone. And we need to find a place to live. So let's check out our map here and see what we got going on around here. I'd like to find a clay deposit early on if I can. But looks like this area over here will be a decent starting spot. We got some woods right here. We got plenty of water around, and looks like there's plenty of land here as well to build and farm, etc. So let's go ahead and actually pin that on our map and just call that our home right now. Home base. Awesome. And actually I'm going to pin that so that way it stays on our mini map when we're playing the game. So let's trek over in that direction, gathering any other resources we might need. We're going to need some more sticks and flint. So let's go ahead and gather some sticks and flint. Oh, that is a wolf. I don't know how close he is, but I do not want to mess with that guy right now. I have absolutely no means of defending myself. Ooh, copper. Alright, so we found some copper here. Oh, awesome. Look at that. Right out in the open. That is incredible. That is a great start. Let's go ahead and mark that on our map here as copper. And that way I can go back there later, gather that up. In the meantime, we just need to gather some more flint as we head in that direction. Maybe we'll get really lucky and find some more food, because currently I only have 1 mushroom left. Food is super, super important. More copper. Wow, we couldn't have gotten more lucky with this. So let's mark this as well. We'll take all the copper we can get. That is a fantastic thing to have at the beginning of the game. Now if we could just find some clay, that would be really, really nice. What is this rock over here? Sandstone. Okay. Nice, we found some mushrooms. gather these bad boys up here. And I'm also gonna gather these bushes so I can plant these at the base. Cranberry bushes. Nice, got a good bit of cranberries from that. Some more mushrooms. And we have inventory space that we can store some of this stuff in here. That'll be perfect. Gather up all these that I can find. The berry bushes take quite a while to grow, so we'll be better off starting them as early as we can. Looks like we've hit our home base area. Some more flint right here. And I can't see the sun, but it seems to be setting here soon based on my shadow, so I need to start building a little bit of a base here. And I think we're gonna be stuck with a dirt hut to start the first night. So let's go ahead and make a shovel by napping these two rocks against each other. That gives us a shovel head, and then we pair that up with a stick and we will have a shovel. Nice. So let's gather some of this dirt and make ourselves a little makeshift shelter here. And I don't want to go too far into the ground because we can't currently mine stone at this point in the game. But if we dig down a little bit, it'll allow us to make a pretty solid base early on in the game. So let's go ahead and make ourselves a little first night dirt home. That way we can get some stuff done while the night's going on. Another thing you can do in Vintage Story to make a little more aesthetically pleasing block is take some soil and put it in the crafting grid like this, and it'll make packed dirt. And then you can go even further with that packed dirt and make rammed earth. Rammed earth looks pretty good for a starter building block in my opinion. So we'll just get going here, make a nice little rammed earth base to start our first night off. It looks like the sun's already setting, so this is gonna be our first little starter base here. So let's first make a fire starter and a torch with 2 dry grass and 1 stick on top. The fire starter is just 2 sticks like this and 1 dry grass in between like that, but we'll only need 1 of those. So I'll put this at the entrance and hold right click and give her a little light, and now we have a nice little lit up starter base. So the second thing I want to get going is start cooking all those cattail roots. That way we have some good early food source. So in order to do that, though, we're gonna have to get some wood. So I'll be pushing my time limit on the night, but I have a 5-day grace period for mobs, so we should be okay just to go out and gather some wood. In order to do that, we're gonna need an axe. So let's go ahead and make ourselves a flint axe head. And throw that axe head on a stick to make an axe. And I won't need this shovel, so I can hold Control, Shift, and right click to place it against the wall, which is a super cool game mechanic. That way we can save a little bit of inventory space here. Because all we need right now is the axe to go chop down some trees. So Luckily, we got plenty of wood around here to chop. So let's go ahead and start at this tree. In Vintage Story, you break the bottom log of the tree and the whole tree falls down. It's pretty awesome. You don't have to deal with any floating logs or leaves or anything. You also get some sticks out of this too. So I'll probably just chop down a couple trees to start here. Got some more flint. I don't want to spend too much time outdoors at night because I won't be able to see anything. Let's go ahead and break this other tree down. Takes forever, but you get the whole tree. So pretty sweet, if you ask me. So I think we'll call that for now and head back to the base and get a little fire going. We already got grass growing in here. Alright, so to make a fire, you have to start with a pile of dry grass on the ground. I'm actually going to put my campfire in a hole in the wall. That way it doesn't take up as much space. So one dry grass, you shift right click it on the ground and you grab yourself some firewood by splitting some wood that you got. So that'll make quite a bit of firewood out of just those 14 logs we just split. Be more than enough for now. Shift right click to load it up on there, and instead of using the fire starter to light the torch like we did earlier, we can actually just take this torch and light the campfire with the torch, which is super, super cool. Alright, so we got that going. Let's throw our cattail roots in there, and those will be cooked into wild rhizomes. That'll be a good little starter food source. So let's just throw all that firewood in there and see whatever we get out of that. And then another thing you can do in the early game as a door is just make a gate. I believe, nope, that is a tool rack. I don't remember how to make a gate. I'll be right back. I'm going to go figure out the recipe for that. Alright, so let's try this again. So I tried to look online, but I couldn't figure out the proper recipe. But I finally found it in one of my other worlds, and it's called a wattle gate. The reason I use this is because the doors that they allow you to make this early in the game have a chance to fall off when you use them, which is not good. But a wattle gate won't break when you use it in the early game. So that is what I'll be using for a door in this part of the game. So we got a couple of these wild rhizomes cooking here. Let's start by cleaning up this floor a little bit so we don't have grass spawning under our base. That is actually insane. We have quartz right underneath our base. That'll be useful for later on. That is fantastic. So let's just clean up all this dirt here and put down some rammed earth. And just a note, I do have the mining speed on 200%. I'll go ahead and throw all the other settings that I have up on the screen so you can look through it if you'd like to see what I got going on. What am I doing? I need to nap this into a shovel head first. Getting too far ahead of myself here. Alright, let's make this next shovel and get back to rebuilding this base up so it'll look a little nicer. And once again, we're just going to change this into packed earth, packed dirt, and then into rammed earth. Much nicer building material. Alright, the base is looking a little bit more like a base now. Let's go ahead and make some spots in the side of our wall here so we can have our storage tucked out of sight. Need some more of this rammed earth. Very easy to make, very quick. Alright, now that we got this little spot here tucked out of our wall, let's use those cattails that we gathered earlier to make some storage containers. So the reed chest is made by putting cattails in a circle like this in your crafting inventory, and it allows you 8 storage slots. So that's very good for early on storage. Fortunately, we can only make 2 with the amount of cattails that we have, but we can always go back and get some more cattails later. So this will be good for now, whereas we don't have a lot of inventory space happening. Let's go ahead. This is all low fertility soil, so I don't know if it affects the rate at which these bushes grow, but we'll just plop these down right here anyway. Alright, and let's place our torch back in the wall so we can see a little better. Beautiful. Clean up this little bit of dirt here, and I think I'll make a couple extra fire pits because we're gonna need them. And I'll just leave that uncovered for now. And then another cool thing about this game is not only can you set your tools on the wall, but you can also set certain items on the ground for storage. And I'd like to store the wood in a different spot other than inside the base, because it can get a little crowded when you have all your wood inside your base. So I'm gonna make a quick little storage area for my wood outside. The added benefit of making a wood storage outside that's covered is we can put a torch outside and it won't go out from the rain. So let's go ahead and just place that right there. And I'm gonna need to gather a lot more dirt to make this little storage addition. So let's go ahead and grab our shovel we just made and dig up some more dirt. Alright. Just for aesthetics, let's give ourselves a little front area here that matches up with our doorway. That'll be really, really nice. If I don't keep messing this up. Now I am using food to do all this stuff, so I shouldn't really be building like this early on in the game, but I think it'll be okay for now. Just so that way it's more aesthetically pleasing. Got some food here, awesome. Speaking of which, we can get rid of these. And let's also throw... keep the cranberries on us. Let's put the wine caps and our other food in here. corn caps. That's a pretty interesting name for a mushroom. And that fire is still hot, so what we can do is we can actually take, as long as it hasn't burned out, awesome. Still had some heat in there, so it'll light right back up when you add the firewood, and then it'll begin cooking again. Let's put some more firewood in there, make sure that all gets cooked up. Alright, so what to do next? I know we are gonna need clay. We already found a couple copper mines. Can't really find clay in the dark. So I think I'll just go collect a little bit more wood. Put a little wood stockpile in our new storage area. I'm gonna go a little further out so that way we have more readily accessible wood near the base. That way we don't deforest everything right next to the base. And I am gonna turn all this wood into firewood. There is uses for logs later on in the game, but there's plenty of wood around here, so I'm not too worried about it. That'll give us some much needed sticks as well. And daytime's coming up around here, so I would like to start on a trek to find clay if we can. And you know what, let's just grab some sticks while we're out here too. Ooh, there's a nice little mine here. Sandstone, I don't see anything of interest. But finding clay is going to be super important in this early game because it allows us to make food storage pots, cooking pots, bowls so we can eat the food that we make in our cooking pots, etc. It's very important early on in the game. So alright, what are we working with here? I actually need that axe. I don't know why I put it down. That has 19 durability. Let's see how many logs we can chop with that. 19. Alright. Go ahead and make another axe head here so I can finish splitting that wood, and we'll go throw it in our nice little storage that we built. One stick and the axe head. Beautiful. Wood stacking actually looks really cool in this game. So if you hold control and shift, you can place a lot of firewood at once, and it'll also stack right off the bottom stack. So very, very cool. Let's turn the rest of this into firewood. That's a good bit of firewood here. I don't think it'll be quite enough to get into the Copper Age, but we'll have plenty for now. So there's all our firewood stacked right outside our base, looking snazzy. And I think we should start looking for clay today, because that's going to be really, really important. I actually need some of these sticks. Should keep that on me in case I need to make a torch. This I'm going to throw out. Some of this extra soil. You always want to keep blocks on you just in case you have to run away from an animal. I could make a flint spear, but I haven't seen a whole lot of animals around for good hunting, so I'm gonna leave that for later. Let's just go ahead and make sure we have the maximum amount of inventory space. And I know by looking at the map, if you have the color map enabled, sometimes you can spot peat or clay in a slight discoloration in the map. So this, for instance, this slight discoloration here, that must be something. Either clay or peat. So let's go ahead and just call this a point of interest. And go over to that little dot we just put on our map and see what we have over there. And if we get really lucky, we can locate maybe some deer or some bears and see where they're spawning, so that way we can make a mental note for hunting for later in the game. Alright, it actually is red clay, just like I was hoping. So we have a massive red clay vein right here on the surface, right by the base. That is awesome. So let's go ahead and rename this to clay. Don't need it pinned. There, so we got a nice little clay waypoint on the map, and we can go ahead. I forgot my shovel. Nice. The one thing I needed. It's alright though, we can make one right here. So we're gonna need a lot of clay. Got ourselves a new shovel, so let's go ahead and start digging up some clay. Seems to be a very nice spawn so far. Plenty of copper. Our base is built above quartz. Massive clay vein here. I think this will be more than we'll need. But while we're here, let's gather up a whole bunch of this stuff. I'd say 3 stacks will be good for now. I don't want to be storing too much of this stuff because we don't have a lot of storage space at the moment. Alright, so 3 stacks should be okay for now. So we have this mark, we got plenty more there to be harvested. Sorry, not harvested, gathered. Some more flint there, definitely need that. See if there's anything else of interest out here. And then we'll head to the base and start working on collecting stuff to work that clay. Some more berry bushes over here. I'm definitely gonna grab those. Alright, we are back at the base. Let's check our fire pit here. I actually want to put some rammed earth underneath this. There we go, that's much better. And you know what? Just cause, let's build another one right next to it right here. That way we'll have plenty of fire pits. That low fertility soil in our inventory. I think all this other stuff we're gonna need. Alright. Let's put our cooked food away in our little storage here. We'll just store this clay for now because we can't use it at the moment. We're gonna have to gather a lot of resources to work that clay. Alright, so just take an inventory of where we're at right now and what we have. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do with that clay is make storage, because I'm already pretty full up on storage here. So I'm gonna need lots of grass and sticks and firewood, I believe. No, I need peat. That's what I need. I need some peat. So I'm gonna have to set off, I think before I do anything else, I want to find some peat moss. Because I can use firewood, I believe, but firewood takes a lot longer. So let's get these bushes planted. See if I can't find right in front of me. Okay. I'm clearly not paying attention. And let's plant these up first, and we'll go look for peat, which looks the same as clay on the map. So let's see if we can, I wouldn't call it cheating, but it's a little cheaty. But let's see if we can look on our map and find some peat moss. So let's open up our, actually I want to get rid of this stuff first. I wish there was a trash slot in the inventory. It's really too bad they don't implement that, but I don't know why, but I think that's my sanity level. It's pretty low right now. And I assume it's because of rift activity, but I'm not very educated on what this system is, so I'll have to just be careful. Get rid of this dirt. And I will want to bring all my tools with me just in case I need anything. And I'm gonna make a spear just in case I have to fend for myself. Alright, napped up a nice flint spear here and should be good to go. I think we got a little bit of food. Let's check that map. So we found the peat moss in this discolored area right here. Just slightly discolored. So I'm trying to see if I can find any discoloration in the grass anywhere. It's really hard to tell in the forest because there's so many shrubs. And with areas that have hilly terrain, it's kind of hard to see as well. But we definitely could use some peat moss. I think we'll start down here where the red clay was at, where this copper is at, and we'll move east. Maybe we can check out these ruins, find something in those ruins. I don't like the sanity going down though. I don't know what that's about, but I guess we're gonna find out. And we can worry about the wood and the grass when we get back, but we really need to find peat moss first. And honestly, I don't think I'm gonna find... Let's check this out real quick, see if there's anything of interest down here. Not anything that I can see. I believe that's flint in the rock. Yeah, let's be real careful. I want to say that's coal. Coal's useful, but it's not necessary. You can make charcoal. So let's keep on going until we find some peat. Gotta stay vigilant around here. We don't want to get ambushed. by anything. A little bit of bony soil. I think I'll come back for this stuff. I was just trying to find something obvious. Maybe a cracked vessel. Heck yeah. Oh, it's full of rot. Rice grain? Let's go! I don't know what that's for or how to use it, but I mean, obviously it's a grain, but heck yeah. An ore vessel. Be something good? Black coal. Alright, I'll take it. We do absolutely need to find some peat, but another one. Let's go. This is another food one. Some more grain. Rye grain. Nice. We can make some food out of that, I believe, once we get some clay cookware and such going. I don't know what you need to cook grain, but I do not know how to traverse, I guess, through here. I don't think, yeah, it's just the other side. There's probably more cracked vessels throughout here, but there we go. Tool vessel. Yo. Oh, it's just a flint shovel. Flint, okay, that's okay. I'll just replace those. I don't really have the inventory space. That's not too crazy. Ooh, there's another one. Give me a good one. Nice. A tin bronze axe. That is awesome. And a flint knife, which I can just replace. I'll replace that one and just get rid of the used one because I don't have enough inventory slots. I think I can use a shovel on this. No, I can't. Actually, this is way faster. There we go. Alright, let's get out of here before I fill my inventory up on this nonsense. Need to focus here. Try and find some of that peat moss. Borax. Oh, that's huge. That is huge. I don't know if borax has a mine underneath it, but I believe it does. So that'll be super great for later on when I want to make leather. Some more ruins over here. Some more copper. Alright. That I definitely will mark. And you know what? While I'm over here, I already marked it, so let's place a couple blocks and pick this up. I should have been picking this up from the beginning. Some flint. But I'm gonna need 40 of these, I believe. Yeah. I think. Yeah, I'll need 40 of those to get my first copper tools to be able to mine the copper, so. Plenty of cattails, though. Good to know. I wonder how far we are into that green area I saw on my map. I think it's gonna clear out here. Pete, let's go! Yes! This is exactly what I needed. Alright, we found what we needed. That is pretty far away from home. And I can't see any difference in the soil around here. Alright, let's mark this as peat. Fantastic. I'm gonna gather a bunch of this for whatever inventory slots I have left. Which is not much. Let's see what we can spare here. Let's eat these 2 berries. We can get rid of that. Get rid of those 2 mushrooms. I really like to keep that grain. I'll get rid of those berries too. We have the bushes, so we can grow some more. But I don't want to have to run out here and get any more peat if I don't have to. So let's gather as much of this as we can fit in our inventory and take off. Hope this doesn't cave in on us. Looks like we're only gonna get about 128, but I think that should be plenty. I hope. I know you only need 4 to 8 to fire 1 lot of clay, depending on what it is that you're firing. So that was an awesome find. Seems to be a lot of it over here too. Alright, so we can head right home. I think we only have, after this day passes, we'll only have a couple more days to prepare for the nasty night mobs. Alright, so we got a solid stack of peat here. That'll definitely help us out. Let's plant the rest of these bushes if we can. We're gonna need that grass anyway. Wow, we got a lot of bushes here. I can't see anything right now. You know what? I think we can make a quick torch. I think that'll be worth lighting just to plant these bushes out here. Nice. And actually, I'm gonna reset. I think I heard it's 24 hours that the torches will go out, and then you have to break them. There we go, that's much better. Let's clear out this vegetation. The only thing that's concerning is I haven't seen any deer or bear, anything that gives pelts or fat. Pigs, I haven't seen pigs either. Hopefully that won't be a problem moving forward. Let's move this torch for a minute. We're just gonna put all these berries right next to each other and hope that they grow well. Don't need that. And our coal for now, I can just take that, place that on the ground in our storage area. That way it's not taking up space in the base. Oh, we have more peat bricks. I'll leave those in here for now. Just toss the rest of our miscellaneous items in there. Put our shiny tin bronze axe over here. It's a sweet find. Let's see, we need to do clay. I would like to actually do it inside before I did it outside, but if we have mobs or anything, we're gonna get destroyed. So I think I'm gonna spend some time here and expand this base out to the east, so that way I have plenty of space inside the base to do everything that I need to do. Do not want to deal with mobs. Alright, and I think that is where I'm gonna fill in the end of that wall for now. I'm gonna have to dig it back up in a minute, but that's fine. Because I want to make a clay firing area inside of my base. I feel like that would be pretty cool to have built into the base. And there goes my other shovel. Snap up another one of those real quick. Awesome. This is looking pretty nice so far. So I think I'll have cooking and blacksmithing on this end, or maybe I'll make another extension once I get a pickaxe. Yeah, I think this is fine for now. We'll extend it again when I get a pickaxe. But what I need to do, I wonder if I can break this block. No, I don't believe I can even break it. So let's just do it here, I guess. That'll give us 5 spots to fire our clay in. And we can do it in the safety of our own home, which is fantastic. So, now that we got our little spots dug out for firing our clay, we need to turn our clay into something that's worth firing. So to start, I would like to get everything that I absolutely need to make a copper pickaxe first. So I'm gonna need a crucible. So this is a pretty cool system to form the clay. And it gives you a nice diagram. You just get to break all the little blocks away. It can be a little bit tedious at times, but it's very relaxing. And there's different modes that you can use. Instead of just the single block, you can use the 1x1, 2x2, 3x3, and you can duplicate as well. So like I just made that layer around in a ring, so that way I can duplicate that layer. It's very, very useful. Keep pressing the wrong key. And if we put a 3x3, oh, we can't do that. We'll just use a 2x2, that's fine. Ah, that's why. We're not supposed to place one in the center. Alright, so we got our first formed clay object, which is a raw red clay crucible. So we'll need to fire that in order to get a usable crucible. So I'm just going to set that in the pit for now, and I'm going to continue crafting the rest of what I'm going to need. start with a pickaxe mold here. That 3x3 is super useful. Actually, I think I could have duplicated the layer faster on this one, but that's okay. And we'll go one by one and take out that clay that we don't need. All right. We're also gonna need a prospecting pick mold, but I think we don't quite have a lot of space here. You know what? I'll make one more firing spot. That way we can make everything that we need in one go. And we don't actually need to cover it because we're already undercover in the base, which is very nice. So let's go ahead. We need a hammer to process the ores when we find them and mine them with our pickaxe. Let's try just duplicating that layer. Because why not? It'll be easier to dig out the center than it will to place all those individually. And then we can just dig out the center like that. There we go. We got our hammer mold. Now let's make our prospecting pick mold. And I think I'm gonna have to grab some more clay here soon, because the storage vessels take quite a bit of clay to make. Prospecting pick mold is done and in. So we got our crucible, we got our clay molds. I think I'm gonna use this one for a storage vessel, and then we can possibly make a cooking pot and 2 bowls. Let's see. We don't need a crock. We need a cooking pot. We could use a crock, but at the moment, most of the food that I make, I'm just going to be consuming. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Awesome. Can we place that in there? Nice, we can. All right. And then we'll make, I think, yeah, if we have a cooking pot, we're gonna have to have some bowls to eat out of, so let's just make a couple bowls here. Also use these bowls to make a little oil lamp. I don't know if it's called a lamp or not, but you put fat in it and it makes a little glowing oil lamp that are super, super useful. So we definitely Alright, so that is full. We got all these filled up. Now we just need to make the last item, which is gonna be a... I think it's just called a storage pot, maybe? Red clay storage vessel. And I think we can just duplicate that layer. Nice. This takes a lot of clay. I believe it's 35 clay it takes to make one of these storage vessels, but it's very, very useful, very worth it. You can store grains and cured foods, and they'll last almost forever in this thing. And it provides more storage than these reed chests. So very, very useful. Definitely worth making a couple of these. For now, we'll just start out with one. Making these clay molds is pretty time consuming, so that's why you're better off to do this during the night, but I'd like to just get these in there and going. And then while we wait for these to cook, after we get them going, we can mold some more clay items to be fired. Alright, there's our raw red clay storage vessel. Let's throw that in the hole, and then we'll start off by filling it with grass, and I don't think I have enough, so I think we should gather the resources that we need first. So we're gonna need sticks, grass, and peat moss. So let's start with the grass. We already have 48, but I don't think that's gonna be enough. So let's just gather a whole bunch of this. Alright, let's get back to base. Got some food we can eat. Get sticks already. Alright, let's gather some sticks first. I wanted to go deep into this forest to gather my wood, because the wood is so dense. So let's just go north from the base, quite a ways in, because we're gonna need sticks and wood later on. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no. Oh, I'm gonna die. One more hit and I'm dead. Oh, man, that was so close. That was really, really bad. I cannot slip up like that again. Alright, let's, oh, that's why our bar's going down, is because we have one of those rifts right there. Let's go gather some wood from somewhere else so I don't get killed. Alright, so that should be... I think that'll be enough wood. We'll come back and get some more if we need it. Yep, that wolf is right there. Peace out, dude. Alright. So, we are gonna need cut this into firewood. And we'll need that in a little bit, so let's just get it out of our inventory here for now, because we're not using it this minute. Oh, my torch is in the way. Let's place this right there. And we can get rid of this peat moss while we're at it. Nice. Berry bush to put down. And before we go any further, let's eat some food. Alright, let's see what we have for food that's gonna spoil soon. Fresh for 6 days. Those are all 6 days. Those are 5 days. Alright, let's just eat these up, I guess. Alright, so we should have everything we need. Let's get all the sticks and grass in our inventory here. So we're just gonna start with, I believe it's 8 dry grass. No, that was 10. Yeah, that's 10 per. So we gotta fill it with dry grass. And then we put 8 sticks. That's what it is. It's 8 sticks. And then we're gonna cover that with the peat moss. I think that will be enough. This one's gonna need 8, and the rest of them should take 4. And then once those are all set up, you can just take your torch and light them up. Oh, you have to hold shift. And that is now firing that clay. This takes, I think it's like 12 hours with peat and 24 with firewood. Something like that. Don't hold me to it, but something along those lines. And you obviously don't have to do this in your house, but if you do it outside, just make sure you put a block above them so that way rain won't wipe it out. So that we got that going, which is awesome. That's huge. So I believe we have everything we need in there to make a pickaxe and gather more copper. So the next thing I would like to do is get working on charcoal, which, excuse me, which I'm also going to, I was gonna do it inside, but we can't mine through the stone below, and I don't want to go into the wall anymore, so we'll just make some charcoal outside. And we're gonna grab some rammed earth to make our little charcoal pit, because I don't want to hit, I don't want to light anything on fire that shouldn't be. So let's go ahead and make ourselves a little pit here and make sure this top layer is all rammed earth. That way we don't light any of the grass around it on fire. Well, I guess I didn't need to do that block over there. need to fill... You know what? I'll do this one more deep. I'm gonna fill this wood, firewood, right to the brim. So it's gonna take 8 of these bundles. To fill this. And you can do this however you want. You can do it in a 1x1 pit, I think. But this is the way that I like to do it. And you're gonna need quite a bit of charcoal in the future, so it's better to just do it now and get it over with. So once you have your pit all set, you want to cover the exposed spots with your dirt or rammed earth, whichever you're gonna do. You don't have to use rammed earth, of course. But you want to leave one spot where you can start a fire on top of it. So you're just gonna start a regular fire on top of some more firewood. And then we're gonna light it and cover it up. And if it's smoking, and I'm struggling here, okay. If it's smoking after you cover it up, it means you did it properly. So let's take this torch we got right here and light this up. And it even says charcoal pit in the top. And I have 30 seconds to cover it up. And then I believe it'll start smoking. Yeah, it is lit. So it's all covered up now, and it'll start smoking after that timer's out. So we'll just sit here for a minute and just make sure that's gonna fire up like we want it to. Alright, I think it's been about 30 seconds. I know if you uncover it, it'll stop it. There we go. Awesome. So that charcoal pit is now lit as it's supposed to be, and that's gonna take a while until it's done, and when it's done, that'll all be charcoal. Once the smoke stops coming out, we can dig this all up, and we'll have a bunch of charcoal to use, which is super awesome. And I think after that's done, we'll probably make a nice little area out here that we can store it in. So it'll be right next to our peat and our firewood. It's just a little OCD here. Awesome. So this is going. We got the charcoal going out there. What do we need to do right now? Just because we can, let's just throw that right there. Because why not? We could go get more clay. Could get more copper because we're gonna need that. So I think while it's still daytime, let's run out, make sure we have all the tools we need on us. I think we're good. And blocks in case we have to run from a wolf again. Hopefully not, but if it happens, you know, it happens. So let's go grab those nuggets, and hopefully we can gather up 40, which will be enough to make ourselves a pickaxe and hammer. So we got one little copper bit right here. And we got plenty of food that we're gonna need to eat up, so I'm not too worried about running right now. I am gonna gather a bunch of this horsetail, I think. And maybe we can make some early game bandages. Because, oh man, do those mobs do damage. They hurt. I could gather some more cattails, but I'm not super concerned about that at the moment. I would like to make a little cattail farm near the base somewhere. I think that's enough horsetail for now. I think it's enough to at least make a couple bandages. Early game bandages. I don't think they heal a lot, but it's a lot better than nothing. Let's run over to that copper spot. I don't... Did we check this one already? No, we did not. This is the one that's right up against the wall. That's super, super nice. So we don't even need to put dirt blocks here to mark this. I do want to pick up... Oh, it's just one? Come on, give me a couple more. Two copper bits. And while we're here, we could just dig out this wall here and see where the rest of that copper is. I hope there's more than just those two little blocks there, but... Nice. Okay, that's what I thought. So the way I read it on the wiki is that the ore veins will follow the hills. So if you have a very hilly area and you have an ore vein, it'll split itself between the stacks of rock. So I'm just gonna clear this little area out right here. Be nice for later. And hopefully I won't fall into it. That should be means enough to keep myself from jumping into there. Make ourselves a nice little way in there and got ourselves a nice early game copper mine. That is super awesome. Let's check the map and see where else we have copper. I know we picked that one up, I believe, but I don't think we picked that one up. So before it gets dark here, let's go run east. Let's see if we can't find those copper bits. Because right now we do not have enough to make a pick and a hammer, which is what we're gonna need to gather that copper out of the ground. You don't need a hammer to gather the copper, but you do need a hammer to break the ore bits up that you mine. Okay, there's a nice couple bits here. Don't need that. I don't see any more. Okay. Alright, so we're at enough to make the pickaxe now. But we're still gonna need more. So I think what we're gonna do is set up a little spot by the water. Ooh, brown coal. That'll be super good. That way we don't have to use all our charcoal to make copper. We can use some of this brown coal. Because later on when you get to the Iron Age, I believe, you need to use either black coal or charcoal to make iron. You can't use brown coal because brown coal doesn't have enough heat. So let's use some of this dirt we just gathered. We need to make a wood pan first and find some sand. I think we'll go south for that because it looks like there's some sand by that water right there. And we're gonna spend the night tonight while this stuff is going. pan through some sand and see if we can't find some more copper bits in the sand, because that won't be enough for what we need to make. I'll also throw some of those extra resources in there. Alright, and to make a wood pan, I believe you need 1 wooden log and a knife. So let's go find ourselves 1 log. That's oak. I don't want to cut that down. We don't need all these, but we might as well take it, turn the spare into firewood. So let's make ourselves a wooden pan. Nope. That's not how you do that. Aha! Wooden pan. Nice. And then the rest of that I will chop down into firewood. We're also gonna need another axe. Let's just make that up so we have that extra in our inventory. Plop down this wood. There we go. And it does use a lot of food, so we're gonna need to bring some more berries with us. Hopefully we can use those up. So let's go down to where all that sand is and enclose ourselves in a nice little dirt shelter, and we can sit through all this sandstone. Unfortunately, you can't just turn this into glass like you can in Minecraft, but that's okay. And I'm not worried about making this out of the fancy dirt or whatever. So we're just gonna make a nice temporary closed off shack here where we can sit and pan for the night. Nice. I don't believe anything can attack us from down there, but maybe I'll just block it off just to be safe. Our nice little water hole here. I should have brought a torch, but we can just make one and start it with a fire starter. Nice. Alright, we got a nice little lit area. We got all our sand here. Hopefully it doesn't drop. Usually it does. Okay. That's fine. I will just use a block here where I'll place all the sand on. And then let's get rid of this stuff from our hotbar so that way we can see what we're getting. Start panning away. Oh, we need air above it. That's interesting. That's a cool mechanic. Kind of makes sense though. We're gonna pan away. Alright, I think that is enough for now. There's a lot of items that I dropped in the ground here. What else do we have? Blue clay I don't need. Flint. Flint arrowhead. Flint. Okay. Nothing really of value to me. So let's dig ourselves out of our little hut here. And get rid of anything that we don't need. Oh no, I put the torch out. copper that we're gonna need in total. Ooh, can I get this fox? First hunt of the game. Ooh, that hurt. He bit me. Ooh, come on. All right. Hopefully that was worth taking half of my health. Nice. A little hide and some fat. And that fat we can put in one of our bowls. Those are cheap. We can remake those. Oh my word. Okay. Charcoal's still going. And the clay is still firing. That is crazy. For now, I'm just gonna place this rawhide on the ground. And as soon as that bowl is done, I'm gonna put this piece of fat in it. So that way I can have a lamp. We're really gonna need that storage. Nice. 41 copper. So we have exactly as much as we need to make a copper pick and a copper hammer. But I think that is as far as we're gonna go today in the first episode. Thank you for watching if you made it all the way through. I appreciate your presence and have a good time, and hopefully you'll watch my next video. All right, peace out.